like you mentioned, Palmatoro loves to gank the lane, loves to try and set the opposing laner behind so that Techno JJ can get ahead. And this is going to be very important for PT Lamb to be aware of that, know the rotation timings, and be in constant communication with his own jungler, Rigmeza, in order to make sure that when Palmatoro is going to be on a rotation to get to the lane, that he's playing a lot safer.
Yeah, and I mean, when we look towards the draft as well for this game, it's interesting that both of these teams have very specific like power picks that they consider to be high priority. Like you look at Arden when you think of Dynasty, and then we've got kind of the more new meta things when we think of Fnatic, like the Catherine Batiste, for example, and like the Krull that has been a huge pick for them. What is the anticipation for this draft? Because it feels like when you've got two teams of totally different styles, the draft is always going to be fairly individual and fairly unique.
I'm wondering, since this is the final, are they going to pull Baron out? Because both these teams do not play Baron. Like PT Lamb and Techno prefer a melee weapon carry. Like PT Lamb on that Glaive, that Idris, Techno on that Black Feather usually. So the draft is going to be very interesting. It's going to be a melee versus melee fight, and that's going to be really nasty and fun to watch.
Yeah, we've seen one of those, I think, in this season of Vainglory8. It was when G2 managed to get that rhyme and just obliterate with an instant triple kill. But look at this. Catherine and Arden both banned away. This is not a draft that you would have seen 2 weeks ago.
Both healers are not banned, and then they're both picked. Like, that's insane, the draft. Like, and they're focusing on the captains here, and denying Netolet's Cat, and denying Mowgli's Great Arden. And they're going to take Baron away, so I guess Fnatic must know in some capacity that Dynasty does play that Baron. PT Lamb does play Baron.
They may also just be trying to get Dynasty to force an Idris ban here, because if the Idris doesn't get banned here, it's going to be available from Fnatic. And like I said, the melee laners, if you have a melee versus melee, Idris is going to win that matchup almost every time.
Yeah, usually he should, but Glaive is also good into Idris, though. And with Grace, Glaive and Grace would beat an Idris. So I don't know if Fnatic will pick the Black Feather here and not even go for the Idris and maybe give the Idris over to Dynasty and just have that Black Feather versus Idris matchup, which potentially could pan out because Black Feather also can be flexed. Palmataro does play CP Black Feather as well, so they can also play CP Black Feather. So is Fnatic going to then prioritize that Black Feather, because Glaive isn't good into Grace. You should not play Glaive into Grace. They're definitely not going to play Glaive, and they're definitely not going to play Idris. So I think they may opt for the Black Feather here. But let's see. Oh, wow, they are going to take away the Glaive from the PT Lamb. And this is risky because Glaive is easier to stun with the Holy Nova coming out from Grace.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely can get caught out on Glaive, but then Glaive can also catch other people out very easily as well. So kind of high risk, high reward coming out from Fnatic, and that's likely to go over to Techno JJ. We have seen him play Glaive in the past. But now Dynasty, they have the opportunity to grab both of their next picks here. What's the likelihood?
Idris, I think, is going to be most likely. You can see it's one of PT Lamb's most played hero. I believe it's his most played hero. And it goes so well with a Grace, Idris Grace. Even though Glaive is one of the few melees that can deal with the Idris, it's just such a strong duo. But they're going to grab themselves a Black Feather
and
instead.
Probably Scarf, I think, because they don't want to deny Scarf from Fnatic. And Scarf is just good in case Fnatic plays Petal or anything like that. He's just a really good counter. So Samuel or Scarf may come out, but I feel like they may want to take away the Scarf from Fnatic and not give it to them, or just play Samuel, because Samuel and Scarf are more of a skill matchup. And yep, they're going to take the Scarf away, and this now leaves Fnatic to then pick the Samuel here, because melee and Cruel, anything like that, would not be smart into a Grace and a Scarf with the stun and the slows that can come out of that. And plus, Black Feather has a slow with his on point too. So I think Samuel will probably be the most likely option here for Fnatic.
Samuel definitely open for them if they do choose to pick that one. They've got 25 seconds still to play with, so weighing up the options. Obviously, Krull still available. We've seen them pick it into a Petal before, so
and won.
I feel like at this point they're willing to pick it into anything.
Yeah, it would be a really, really tough matchup here, but it's definitely a possibility. But it is going to be a Sky. This is a really good pick. Sky is very, very strong, and against a Scarf, you can reposition yourself a lot and make it very difficult for Scarf to be able to get that Dragon's Breath onto the entire team. It's also just another potential stun to try and stop a Scarf ultimate.
Yeah, so looking to shut down that Scarf. How are we feeling the playstyles are going to be playing out in this game, Suijay?
Yeah, well, Grace is stronger early game with Scarf than Sky is, but if Sky gets to late game, Fnatic's going to win, because Sky is a great counter into Grace and Black Feather. So I think Fnatic is going to take this if they go to late game like that.
So if they can get to late game, we know Palmatora is an exceptional mechanical player. How are you feeling this one's going to pan out, Bacon?
I like the draft from both sides. I think they both have very present and prevalent strengths. It's really going to be positioning is going to be so important in team fights, and who is, as per usual, who is more aggressive, who is the ones dictating when and where fights happen.
All about the pace of the game. Well, it's just about time we jumped into our grand final for Europe today. Hashtag Vainglory8 on Twitter is how you can get involved in the conversation and let us know who you want to take this one. But it's time to get into our final. So let's pass it over to our casters for Dynasty Gaming up against Fnatic.
Wow. Dynasty Gaming up against Fnatic. This one's going to be hard to predict, but Jackson, I can tell you one thing. I think the team that kills their opponent's Vein Crystal first, probably going to be the winner.
I think that's very likely, Humanist. It is usually the case at the very least. I really like the composition that we have coming out of Dynasty. I think this really plays to their strengths as a team with, what we've seen from them previously being, good rotations, good team play. PT Lamb has been great at causing a lot of disruption and really messing with the plan of their opponents, trying to get onto Rickameza on Scarf. On the other side, I don't dislike what Fnatic brings to the table either. They got a lot of playmaking heroes, and these are definitely playmaking heroes too. Players.
Yeah, a lot of potential to make these plays this game, and excited to see what they can do. Net moving over a little late with that sigil. He wanted to steal the mid away. That's not going to be a problem for him. He's thinking about moving over, but Mowgli's going to do a good job to just kind of zone Net to let out, make sure he's not playing any real games. Palmatora, though, on the Sky. This was actually a pick that was mentioned earlier by our analyst. Hold that. Afterburn back. PT Lamb getting burned down. He's on top of the sigil. One more attack should be enough. It's going to come through from Net to let. First blood to Fnatic. Well, I was saying, I think Palmatora Sky, this is when Secret was winning championships. This is the pick that he was playing consistently. I'm really excited.
Yeah, and I was talking about playmaking heroes, right, for Fnatic, and the fact that they like those, certainly showing it already, finding themselves a kill. This is a different pace to what we saw in Calamity versus Dynasty earlier on. They're really sticking it to Dynasty, making it difficult for them to get to the point where they can even start making the kind of plays they like to, the very, rotation-focused plays that we've seen from Dynasty.
Net, once again, trying to steal away the Elder Treant, but it's going to be secured up by Rickameza himself. That means Fnatic will just go through their normal rotation. Palmatora will be moving up into the lane as he already cleared out his jungle. Hasn't made it his way back yet. Another Afterburn. This is so bad for PT Lamb. I love you, PT Lamb, but you have died twice here, and this is not what you're looking for.
Yeah, so on the desk, Squeejay was talking about the fact that Glaive is not a particularly good pick into Grace. That is true, but Grace has not been there either of the times that PT Lamb has died. And that, really speaks to the way Fnatic are utilizing their draft. They are playing to their strengths. They are not trying to, do anything necessarily that is counterplay to what Dynasty has to offer. They're just saying, all right, we got a Glaive. You know what Glaive's great at, right? Early game ganks, early game kills, making plays happen in the lane.
You got to wonder as time goes on, it's like, this was about making sure that Scarf comes online, right? Mowgli's really been putting in a lot of his resources just to make sure that Rickameza has a good time early on. So we'll find out. Is PT Lamb having a rough time worth it as long as Rickameza does come online?
I don't know. I think the thing is Rickameza was likely going to come online no matter what. Especially when you pair him with the Grace. Like, you know that Rickameza is going to be fine. We've seen Scarfs plenty today. They clear so quickly that your windows of opportunity for punishing them are actually very low. And, well, few and far between, the better way of describing it. And, on top of that, I think Rickameza, even if he did die once or twice, normally it's not a punching death. Because you clear so quickly, early on a kill is only worth so much, whereas the jungle is worth a lot. But you're more likely to just find Scarf and not find camps on top. So I actually think that Rickameza was always going to be fine. PT Lamb was always going to be the challenge, but I'd like to see Mowgli spend more of his time up here in the lane as a result of that. It might be too little too late. Perhaps PT Lamb is falling behind by quite a lot at this point. Although there's a fat wave about to hit the turret. Make sure he can actually get all this, though.
You know what I really like? Mowgli has Fountain now. He just dipped to the shop. But this was an opportunity. Rikumeza just sat there. He soaked up like almost a wave and a half of farm, ambient gold coming off of PT Lamb's last hits there. That's super efficient. That's really good to get that extra little boost of gold onto the Scarf. And, you know, we were talking about earlier that, you know, these are the little things that these teams are doing that just put themselves a little bit ahead. You hit that item spike, that power spike, maybe hit a level just, you know, 20 seconds before your opponent. It can have a big deal.
It absolutely can, especially when you're playing a Scarf who really wants levels earlier on, because you know Scarf spikes quite heavily. Be curious to see if Rikumeza actually goes for a level with his ultimate sec, because we've seen a number of Scarfs not do that. I think it's a fine choice. He does pick it up. Okay, so that signals to me they're planning on having some proper team fights more than just sort of poke wars or sieging or pushing. We've also got the Frostburn now onto him. Rikumeza has hit a spike quite early. PT Lamb isn't in the same kind of position now. He's struggling a lot more compared to Tetno, who's farming very effectively.
Benediction in there. Mowgli just gonna poke around, play some games. There's your afterburn. PT Lamb, he's having a rough time. Death from above, not quite connecting. Palma just a little bit behind. Dragon's Breath from Rikumeza coming out here. Maybe a little bit defensively looking to zone Fnatic back, kind of threaten them, posture the Porcupine Quills poking out here from Rikumeza as he senses the aggression from Fnatic. That is the Fountain burned for both of these squads, though, so they're kind of just right back where they started.
They are. I think that's honestly fine for both teams, but probably a bit better for Fnatic. The reason being that they now have reset this situation and start trying to pressure again. If Dynasty move up, they got to be careful.
Mowgli's doing such a good job to Benedict his way in, and then Palmatora wants to target him down with the Forward Barrage, but he's got that full Holy Shield, which is pretty good.
Oh yeah, the Holy Shield perk from Grace is massive. Does so much work. I like the fact that PT Lamb's actually starting to soak a bit of experience down here as well. He has been really struggling in lane, so getting it where he can makes sense. And actually, in experience, he's starting to supersede Tetno, in fact. I guess really makes sense because Tetno has had teammates with him for a lot of the time. Bad time to back that. PT Lamb loses 3 farm, maybe? Around that.
Like, getting Rose offensive, though, is going to be a huge deal for him.
Oh yeah, massive. Because it basically changes the dynamic completely with the glaive, right? But prior to level 6, PT Lamb cannot do anything if he gets jumped on. But once he hits that, as long as he doesn't do it inside of the right bullet, he'll be fine.
Dynasty, more than any other team that we've seen out of Europe this week, utilizing these minion candies. And once again, we see it happening again. Mowgli had brought a minion candy, but PT Lamb also holding his own minion candy. So these guys really trying to abuse the power of this wave as they march forward. Death from above really zoning Dynasty out. They're forced forward, but there's nothing to follow. Tetno really making sure to get those last hits. It felt like maybe they had an opportunity there.
They would have done had Bright Bulwark not been used prior to it, I think.
That makes sense. Let's jump forward. Oh, nice afterbring back. PT Lamb, though, just gets healed up. Divine Intervention. Netlet will throw that Fountain out, keeping his team alive. A Suri Strike from Palma resets that forward barrage. Just connects onto Rikumeza and Mowgli. They're melting down, but they kind of share the damage. They spread it out there very nicely. And honestly, until Palmatora does get up his Broken Myth running, the threat output, not too huge.
Yeah, not just yet. It does respectable damage, but nothing too crazy. Plus, Palma's actually maxed his Suri Strike this game, which does give you more resets of your forward barrage, but less damage on each forward barrage, which is one of the reasons why you're not seeing Palma melt people the same way that you sometimes do see Skies melt people in the early game. I think it's fine, though. I think you definitely want to have Suri Strike pretty high level here against the Grace and the Blackfeather, who can really pressure this Sky very effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then it's also like when you're dealing with Spitfires, dodging them, and then, you know, Bacon was talking about it as well. When Dragon's Breath comes through, Fnatic actually are very capable at spreading out and still having a clean team fight. So it's going to be hard to land those 3-man Dragon Ultimates.
Absolutely, but at the same time, you know, it's also pretty reasonable that Dynasty could split, with Blackfeather being the threat on the front line, Mowgli kind of in the middle, playing Intercept, and Rikumeza on the back line, which makes things like Death from Above and Bright Bulwark, to an extent, difficult to utilize effectively. You know, you can't just have one stone killing all 3 birds. You got to actually decide which of the things you want to prioritize.
Well,
I say
maybe they can get
90% of the
two.
time
They
it's
can't get all
Fnatic.
three.
Yeah, precisely.
Slightly 2-0 Fnatic up here, 9.5 minutes in. A lot of teams have been kind of slow rolling it today, Jackson. A little bit, you know, not putting the foot on the gas, just methodically moving forward here, taking their time, biding their time, waiting for that perfect opportunity. Maybe a predictive break bulwark coming down out of that, but that's going to be on cooldown. 18 seconds here. Whoa. As Fnatic look to get some damage down. Palma eats that Spitfire. You can tell Sky has high damage output potential, but is incredibly squishy.
Yeah, and Rickameza is starting to hit really hard too with max rank on that Spitfire. This is a little bit different, you know, we're seeing very different ability builds coming out of Palma and Rickameza. Rickameza, I would say, is the bigger threat right now, which is actually kind of weird. You would expect this guy to be a bigger threat early.
I'm a little tilted off of Palmatoro's Sky play right now, honestly.
I think it's kind of, I don't know. It's a little strange. I like the max of the Surrey Strike, but the more I think about it, the less I like it early. You're playing with Glaive and Lyra, you can make plays. They're the ones who can be mobile and mess up what Dynasty's trying to do. You need to be the one to deal damage. And right now, Palma's not really doing good damage. Although he does have a broken myth, that's a good pickup.
Yeah, this is the big power spike here for the CP Sky. And we'll see if Palma continues to play as he's been, just kind of kiting across the lane, just drifting across, catching them with some forward barrage. Yeah, the harass has been there, but not as much. You see like one Spitfire land onto Palma, all of a sudden he's like, okay, fight's over. Suddenly, Dynasty are moving in here. Bright Bulwark's down, Holy Nova not going to connect onto Net. Net takes a bit of damage. Once again, just using this Lyra, heals himself and his ally right back up. Doing a very good job to abuse the Sigil here.
You know, I was trying to think about why Rickameza is doing so much damage right now, and it occurs to me that there's no shield on Palma or Net Toilet. I think that's kind of a mistake. Normally, you don't see Scarf chunking like this on one item, 1.5 items, because people do tend to buy shield early on. This time around, everyone's just committed to either armor or nothing, in the case of Palma. And Rickameza is just doing a little bit more work than he should be because of it. It's really stopping Fnatic from being able to utilize their aggressive items, right? Like, that's one of the reasons why you buy defense, to let you play offense.
I'll have to take it from you. I don't buy too much defense myself, to be honest. I'm not lying. I'm a big proprietor of, you know, if positioning is oftentimes it is the majority of winning a fight a lot of times. Well, especially with a hero like Sky, really flexible block to make sure that you don't get locked down if there is something you need to worry about. This game, she doesn't really need to worry about it that much. So you just make sure that you are a damage threat. Especially the idea with Sky is we see probably Eva Harvest come out next, so he's going to use that mobility to dance around the fight, make sure that he's not taking too much damage, and where he is, he'll heal that back up. This may be the fight we're looking for here, though.
The
Holy Nova connects onto Techno, Death Row above, kind of zoning them out. This is PT Lamb on the front line. Forward Barrage doing good work, but Dragon's Breath melting right back through. PT Lamb hits the on-point onto Net Toilet. Mowgli getting melted down, burned down right there where he stands, falls onto his back, and we'll have to respawn 15 seconds from now, almost at 15 minutes. About 13 minutes into this game, 3-0 Fnatic. They have a slight net worth lead, but they have control of this game. And with that control, they're going to move in. They're going to take down this first turret here.
What a tragedy, Humanist. So Rickameza, is sitting there, and he's like, alright, every time I Spitfire the Sky, she loses about a fifth of her health. Let's go for a fight, guys. I think we're actually in a better position than maybe you'd expect us to be right now. Also, Palma doesn't have any shield. Yeah, let's definitely go for a fight. And then they engage, and Palma literally just bought shield. That sucks. That's so brutal. There is something to be said for concealing your items till the last minute. I don't think Fnatic expected that, and it mitigated, you know, people talk about it all the time, like level 1 shield is like 25% mitigation. That's massive. That's a big difference. It really stopped Dynasty from being able to commit onto the targets they wanted. And also Techno is the worst possible target to go on first. Because a lot of their damage is coming out from Rickameza right now, and Techno actually had me just a while ago.
Yeah, honestly, From my perspective, it did feel like that was a very impatient fight from Dynasty. Something they didn't have to do but chose to do. It didn't work out so well for them. There you go. Palma starting to get some damage ramping up here. A couple BM stacks for him. Mowgli's going to jump in, but does leave him a little bit out of position. Surrey Strike and the forward barrage is going to be absorbed by a lot of that minion wave coming down the lane there. You could see, though, PT Lamb, he's going to have to seriously respect what Palmatoro can do here.
Absolutely. You can see as well, like, Palma is not taking nearly as much damage per Spitfire from Rikomeza. It's big. It really does make his life a lot easier. Dynasty still wants to contest the gold mine, though. They're going to try something here.
Dude, just kill Mowgli. Like, if Mowgli wants to sit on the front line like that, just let him stack up your broken myth. Switch over to another target. The gold miner will drop off. This is Dynasty. They're going to move over into the Tri-Brush. Fnatic do not want to contest this. Why not? Weapon Infusion dropping off of Tetno right now. Palma's not infused. Palma has his Eve of Harvest now.
Yeah, that's a pretty good pickup. He actually had that before the last fight, too, I think. I think Fnatic needs to make plays now. If they wait too long, then Scarfle and Blackfeather get too scary. Blackfeather will just deal Palma. But right now, they have a window. They need to go, though. Like, look at Tetna's build, too. He's just hit, like, a second offensive item. He's close to a third. I really think Fnatic need to fight. Things get scary later when Grace just resets whoever you put Palma and Tetna onto.
I really feel like this is... A lot of times you don't want Sky on the front line, but they have a really cool composition where you can let Palmatoro do a bit of the poking, just throwing forward barrage. If they engage, you just Surrey straight back, drop a Bright Bulwark, and Tetno's ready with an Afterburn to peel. And conversely, like if Tetno does engage, it gets kind of awkward for them.
Kraken's on the map now, by the way, so anytime a fight happens, the stakes are huge. They swap on the Palma here.
3-on-1, PT Lamb misses the on point. What's the play here? Tetno's on the backside. It's the Rose offensive over Tetno. Tetno sitting in that goop, burning down, but he's actually very tanky. PT Lamb eating so much forward barrage damage. Divine Infringe keeps him alive. He's going to stay into this fight, jumps back in with the Faint of Heart. PT Lamb's there, but it's Rikomeza with the Dragon's Breath burning, but Palma spinning him in circles, round and round. Oh my gosh, ring around the rosy. Palmatoro, another Surrey Strike, the forward barrage. He gets the sigil healed up. PT Lamb using the Kraken to absorb, but that, look at that death from above. What an angle right there. What a geometry, just a phenomenon right there.
PT Lamb had on point. He might have been able to stay alive long enough to get Rose offensive back at the end of that fight, but he on-pointed just off to the side where there was no one. Very dicey play there. Ultimately, though, good fight from the side of Fnatic. They split very effectively. They made it so that Rikomeza could not land Dragon's Breath onto everyone. Notably, Rikomeza still does not have Eve of Harvest. He took a big divergence out of his path to go defensive itemization, and I think it would have been good for Palma to have one tier 1 shield earlier, a little bit different than Rikomeza going reflex block and tier 2 armor. But that's really slowed him down. He's not able to stay alive in the fights the same way that Palma is.
Honestly, though, okay, yeah, I'll give you that point. But at the same time, Rikomeza using Dragon's Breath in that fight, Palmatoro, he literally spun him in circles. Like, yeah. Rikomeza was just trying to catch up to you. Palma's like, I'm over here. Surrey Strike, I'm over here. You can't keep up with that. Dragon's Breath's going to come out, Death from Above, a little bit zoning there as they kite back. Palmatoro doing a very good job. That's a no-wave gauntlet actually coming out onto the Grace. A nice job from Fnatic, but this is Tetno dropping low. PT Lamb jumped in, but it's Palmatoro on the backside. They find one. They find 2 kills. They've lost Tetno, but it's a 2-for-1. And now Net and Palmatoro thinking about moving forward. Mowgli pretty much out of this one, using that Grace move speed to his advantage. He's kind of hanging around here, playing with fire at this point. It looks like Fnatic probably just want to shove the way then.
Yeah, Palma's totally reset my opinion of his Sky since the beginning of this game. I felt like he was playing very scared, kind of lackluster.
Oh, kill him! Oh, kill him! Get him! How dare you try to stand your ground? And that's why Sky's pretty good against Grace.
Yeah, it's really difficult to actually land your heal through the death from above. Palmatoro doing some serious work here. They find a turret, they find the kill. They don't have enough energy on Palma to necessarily go directly to Kraken, though. He's going to have to back.
Palmatoro. What a monster. Obviously, Sky fun to watch, but capable of having a large impact in the game. In the right composition, played correctly. Palmatoro doing a good job. I was a little tilted on his play earlier, but I think he's really turned it up and very clear in his play style that he was just waiting, you know, just waiting to get his level 12, waiting to get all the items he needs, and then pick a real clean fight.
Net trying to stop him back. It is arguable that he didn't need to, but ultimately, all's well that ends well, right? That's the way to think about it. It's
That's what
like,
some people
you know, I ended up with a decent job, even though I didn't try hard in school. All's well that ends well. JK, stay in school, kids.
Stay in school, kids. The esports, move. Techno, what are you doing? Techno, get back. It's the Bright Bulwark down. PT Lamb. Interesting Rose offensive there. Another No Wave Gauntlet coming out onto Mowgli. Techno, JJ, he's on the backside. Dragon Breath burning through the team. Nettoilette, can you keep your team alive? He needs another Imperious Sigil to come out. Palmatoro, just Suri Strike, throwing the forward barrage while trying to dodge out the Spitfires as well. The Goop, a Suri Strike, another Divine Intervention coming out. PT Lamb is healed up. Now, this is a point where Dynasty do have a little bit of an advantage here. It looks like Palmatoro is gonna be going home. The Dynasty, they have a positioning advantage as well.
Dynasty needs to translate this into something though, because if they don't, they have to go back. Like, those are the two options. You either go back and heal, just reset, and you're like, okay, we nearly made this work, but not quite. Or you pick up an objective, which they don't do. Palma's already back. Kraken could even be started to by Fnatic just to force Dynasty into an awkward position, given the fact that Mowgli's already a bit poked and Peak Lamb's far away. But Fnatic this time going to be, taking it safe, playing it slow. They don't want to overextend.
That's right. We do not want Twitch chat to get too hype right now. I need to be able to read what is streaming down the text bar, and Fnatic good fans here playing it slow, making sure that nobody gets too excited in this moment. Well, look, we got infusions across the board, everybody. Although they will be timing out. Fresh infusion coming out for Techno. This is another thing to keep our eyes on, is if there's a delayed engagement, maybe, you know, they're forced to kind of have a little standoff and then engage. We could see these infusions running out for one of these teams. Palmatoro kind of strafing across, catching them with a little bit of that forward barrage, getting broken myth stacks. Once again, it's just Fnatic kind of poking, and Dynasty trying to do a little reconnaissance. Right now, Fnatic, they have the vision game in their favor.
Yeah, and that's kind of critical here, because you do not want to walk into a death bush where you actually have the Scarf ultimate just annihilating you. Also, walking to choke point's very dicey against a Grace. It makes it really hard to play around Holy Nova. Ideally, Fnatic want to fight in the most open spots possible. You know, it does allow for Sky to maneuver quite effectively as well. So, we'll see what happens.
I don't know if you mentioned, or if we had caught this before, War Tread's out on PT Lamb. That's just another tool. It's going to help Rikumez reposition as well. Pretty cool.
I actually really like that. Very good catch there, Humanist. That's big. Scarf needs to be able to position effectively in these fights, as does Mowgli, actually. You know, like, if you stagger these, it really does make it a lot easier to stick on top of Sky.
A nice start to the fight there, and almost one that Fnatic could have followed up on, but playing it safe, making sure that they have a real good engage. It's almost like Fnatic are kind of like they can sense the impatience out of Dynasty, and every single time is Dynasty engaging into Fnatic. It's rarely the other way around.
Yeah, I think that Dynasty are probably starting to approach a point where they're a little bit stronger. You know, Techno falls off a bit harder in the late game than PT Lamb does, but at the same time, Palmatoro on the Sky versus Rikumez's Scarf, this is a battle for the ages. We've seen this literally since the beginning of my time with Vainglory at the very least, and it really can go either way. If Scarf lands the Spitfires, Sky's too squishy, but if Scarf misses the Spitfires, and Sky is too mobile to sit in the goop and take too much damage, and it's very easy to actually clean up the Scarf. It's an extremely skill-based matchup.
It really is. It really comes down to landing, dodging abilities, and at the same time, you know, Sky, just because you dodge the Spitfire doesn't mean you're landing forward barrage or death from above either. That's why Sky is one of the highest skill cap heroes in the game. For good reason, incredibly fun to watch. You can accomplish so much, but hard to execute on. Nettoilette being engaged, Bright Bulwark's down, defensive afterburn over the wall from Techno, death from above, catches out Dynasty, giving a couple broken mist stacks to Palmatoro. A problem here, and one reason maybe they didn't want to engage, is Palmatoro is actually not infused.
Dynasty need to convert that edge into something. Turret should be very doable. Scarf annihilates these.
No, but it's the
they're going
portal in. The Atlas Pauldron landing, and they're going to get the good damage coming out onto PT Lamb. PT Lamb, the on point, gives him a little bit of time. He's going to jump back in onto net. Techno finds the afterburn, but this is Rikumeza burning through with the Dragon's Breath landing onto 3. He's in and out of the fight. Techno will fall first. PT Lamb's low. Rikumeza as well. Palmatora, what's the play? Suri Strike, dance around. Be the god that all Fnatic fans want you to be. Quit holding back. Jump in, get a triple kill. Think to yourself, what would Redix do in a situation like this? Palmatoro, he's got the forward barrage, he's kiting backwards, Suri Strike, he's reset, another forward barrage, jump further, death row above, it's too far back, he goes down, executed, he's been taken down, PT Lamb, I love you, coming through, finding the kill, Dynasty Gaming, don't lose one.
What happened? Hana probably could have won that fight. I think that there was a few mistakes there. The biggest of which was just Suri striking on the spot to try and kill PT Lamb more quickly. Or maybe it was Mowgli. I forget who was on the front line. But going onto the back line, just killing Rikumeza would have set you up in a great position there. And he could have Suri striked onto the back line. Playing overly safe, I think, is what Palmatora did there. No way is this going to steal it, right? No way. Oh, look for it!
Oh, that's what let's take a moment to appreciate how unbelievably godly this player is. He throws the sigil, realizes, okay, I was just a little bit too late. I'm gonna back out, then portal in, bright bulwark, and steal that. No, I'm done. Unbelievable play.
This is one of those games, one of those ridiculous games where nothing makes any sense. I cannot believe Net got that. This is so bad for Dynasty. That being said, I mean, Scarf kills Kraken quickly, but if Fnatic just, like, finds a window here to go in...
I would do the same thing. I would just portal bright bulwark and go. Suri Strike over the top and 100%. Kill him.
I'm actually surprised they didn't do that. They could have at the beginning of that fight. Portal is not a very long cooldown here. I don't think they needed to play this slower. Like, playing slower like this works if you're Dynasty because you scale better. So you're just getting, like, a little bit of an additional edge. But at this point, I mean, we're 26 and a half minutes into the game he missed. Everyone's basically full build.
They are.
Basically. Rikumeza needs one more upgrade on his armor, right? I guess Mowgli needs a contraption. We're pretty close, though. We're basically there. Sky's there.
Is Techno having a damage output in these fights? I've had a hard time kind of keeping track of Techno.
Yes. So Techno is being threatening to Rikumeza, but not so substantially that it necessarily matters. Techno, he's really there to build a wall between Palma and the opponents, stop Spitfires from landing, and offer the potential to execute someone if they stray too far. Ooh, Mowgli's so chunked right now.
Yeah, really good damage coming out of Forward Barrage at this point. Yeah, you can see the 4-item Sky burning through them. They have no Crystal Sentry. All Palma needs is the target lock. He can move forward. Is that his boots out? He's trying to chase. You can see Palma really wanted to pull the trigger there. And that could have been all she wrote if he had caught them, but they do get away.
Oh, this game is very stressful. Humanist, I'm quite tense right now. It could honestly go either way. I don't really think it comes down to comps at this point. I would say that, if anything, Dynasty has a small edge, but you can pretty much throw most things other than tactics out of the window at this point, because whoever in the moment makes the better plays is going to win this game.
Intense situation at this point. You know what I'd actually almost like to see? I think, and the reason I was talking about Techno before, I think it could be cool to see a Null Wave Gauntlet come out on Techno. To have two Null Waves out on this team when your main job isn't to be the damage output threat at this point could be pretty cool. But Fnatic, they move forward. We'll keep our eyes on the Null Wave from Net. Can he apply this in time to keep maybe a fountain from coming out? Can Mowgli block that off? Yeah, such a precarious position to be in. 56,000 net worth over here for Fnatic at this point. So we're approaching the 29-minute mark of this game, 8-4. Bacon will let you do the kill per minute calculation on that one. In this game, it's been a little bit, you know, on the slow roll side of as far as the actual engagements and fighting and kills, but these guys have been kind of constantly making the rotations, making the plays, trying to force each other's hand. And it's a very interesting, very strategical game here as Dynasty find themselves on the forward side of the lane there, and I'm not sure what Fnatic are going to choose to do. Is they did the ring around the rose, he dropped around the bottom side of the Kraken. They're going to move in. It's Mowgli between them. The turret's melting down.
Boy.
Okay, there you go. Arcane Passage into the Bright Bulwark. Holy Nova catches net. This is an Atlas Pauldron. Apply it onto Tetno, but Tetno's not a huge damage source at this point. Look at the item silence onto Mowgli. It's not enough at this point. Palmatoro, Surrey Ford, trying to pull a Cave Volifar there. What are you doing, bro? Dragon's Breath will come out. Net, they just disengaged. And there you go.
That's so BM. All right, Fnatic, they're in hot pursuit now, though. Lots of cooldowns already burned for Dynasty.
Well, they find a stun onto Sir PT Lamb, but he's pretty capable of getting himself out of danger at this point. Mowgli's still holding Fountain. Net still holding Fountain. I really want to... I'm not kidding. What would Redix do in a situation like this? Redix would jump behind the opponent.
Pound's just preserving his KDA right now. Like, 5-1-3, yeah, sure, it's great, dude. Good work.
Ever since we started putting out those Player of the Week stats, it just ruined it for him.
Honestly, though, like, that engaged by the turret, net blinks in, bulwark. What does the team do? They're just miles away. They're doing no real things. I really think Fnatic needs to be more decisive together. I mentioned it before this game, right? Individually, playmakers. But if you're talking about team synergy, Dynasty's the team I'm looking at.
Oh, for sure. 100%. Really good analysis on that. It does feel like just mechanical outplayability coming down against this very strategical, very strong unit. Moving as a three-man from the first movement they made in this game to the 55-minute mark of this game. I'm kidding. 30-minute mark of this game. They've been really just as one. Now, Tetno, looking for the stun. You have to burn in there just a little bit too shy of finding a target. And Jackson... I feel myself gaining more power as this game goes on. 31 minutes in, I feel like this is just gonna get insane here. I don't know. I can't control my excitement at this point.
I don't know. It's like, you know, if you're waiting for, I don't know, to hear back from a job you've applied for, and like it's getting closer and closer, and the tension just builds the apprehension and excitement.
Just
it's
the
like
build
that.
up.
Like this needs to at some point finally end, and you hope it's going to be exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And so that makes it more exciting in the moment, you know?
It does. Much more exciting. And which team will release their fury, power, destruction upon their opponent
this
first?
This could legitimately be a 50-minute game. I'm not kidding. Like, how do you actually kill someone? They don't die quickly.
I don't know. Once you log Palmator out and let me play real quick. We got his login credentials, don't we? Oh, hold that thought. That's Mowgli jumping in. Mowgli's like, yo, we're trying to make a play. Wartress, nice step from above, zoning him out. Palmatoro finds the damage. Nintendo finds the kill. They have the null wave out onto the Grace. Very good job from Netflix one more time. They burn him down. PT Lamb's down. I love you, but you're dead. Palmatoro chasing in here. This is Fnatic with advantage. Taking two down, only losing one, and it's Tetno, the one that they wanted to fall if someone had to. And now this is Fnatic's chance. They're going to take this Kraken right here, and Jackson, they may be taking away your 50-minute game opportunity.
Nah, don't worry. Rick Mez has got this. No, in all seriousness, like I can't understand Mowgli's engaged there. I feel like he was trying to give space to his people in the lane. Maybe push or something, but that's not going to work out too easily. Does Kraken, how does Kraken scale over time? I've never seen a Kraken at 32 minutes. I'm actually kind of curious.
It should be okay, but right now this is, you gotta wonder, Riku Meza, what have you done? Riku Meza, no! Oh my goodness, I gotta wonder if he wanted to do that, or if somebody sent him in.
Maybe he just decided it was time to end things. And he was like, let's flip a coin. If my Spitfire lands, I'll flip another coin. Right?
He died while flipping a coin the second time?
5 heads in a row, let's go. I don't know. Going in there was dicey. Also missing your Spitfire at point-blank range, dicey. I don't see a way Dynasty defends this. I mean, Kraken, I'm pretty sure it scales.
If
like,
there is a will,
strongly.
there is a way.
I don't know, man. You got 14 seconds on Rikameza. Good luck with your will. Have fun.
Good luck with your will. Oh, we're going to have to rewrite your will at this point. Mowgli still doing a pretty good job at this point. He's going to jump in. Benediction buying a little bit of time. There's the heal, self-heal, Fountain coming out. Null Wave is down onto Mowgli on the front side for this team. The Dragon's Breath's gonna come out. Yeah, it's shiny, and yeah, you got fireworks, and it looks good and everything, but at this point, it's not gonna be enough. PT Lamb, Atlas Pauldron applied, Palmatoro soars across the top side of the map. Depth from above won't connect, but it doesn't matter because Tetno Hey drops the axe on him up the healing platform. And 34 minutes into this game, Fnatic giving the fans the true money's worth here in a very deep European Vainglory8 game.
I like how you have to mention European there. No game would ever go this long in North America. It's a fair point. It's real analysis. What? That was obscene. Let's go to the next one. I want to see some like fights.
Yeah. Hey, Desk, take it away. Get game 2 ready.
A 35-minute slog in the end. Fnatic do manage to take it. They're 1-0 up in the final. But what a game. Like, I don't think I've seen a game quite as long as that before.
Yeah, that was really, really lengthy. And the mental fortitude to be able to stay focused for that long by Fnatic was so impressive. I mean, they were making incredibly smart plays even at the 30-plus minute mark. Net Toilette still had incredible reflexes that far in. Being able to just, as soon as they saw Mowgli go out of position just once down the stretch, immediately Null Wave gauntlet onto him, and the team collapsed so that he couldn't get out. It was just Fnatic taking advantage of a massive mistake.
Towards the early game, we had some excellent fights that kind of shaped the middle of the game, and then things started to slow down again towards the end. But definitely, let's start from where the game began, right? Because we definitely had some advantages going either way. Suijay, talk me through the early game just a little bit.
Yeah, Dynasty, they get 2 early game ganks. They're using that glaive power with the afterburn because Blackfeather is really weak early. So they do a good job of getting a lead, 3-0, etc. And then Dynasty then gets the Grace ultimate, right? Level 6, huge power spike for them. And here they should have focused Glaive together here. Instead, Blackfeather focuses Glaive. Scarf gets outplayed by Sky there. And then it's like a 2-for-2 trade, and then the Kraken helps kill the Blackfeather here. So it's pretty interesting how this turned out. But I knew that once Sky got to the late game, it would have been GG. And Mowgli, for some reason, rushed an Aftershock instead of rushing the Echo. That's where Grace power spikes really hard. So I felt like if he did Echo, they could have maybe finished this game off before Sky would have gotten their 3-item and late game build.
Yeah, and then there was a huge point in the game where, for the second time this week, Net Toilette pulls out the most ridiculous Kraken steal.
Yeah.
Yesterday, he did it on Grace with a Holy Nova. Today, he does it on Lyra with a Bright Bulwark.
Yeah, and so often we'll see a Lyra try and put down the Sigil to attempt to steal the Kraken. This time around, it doesn't get the Kraken steal, so he portals in, throws down the Bright Bulwark, which doesn't even get the Kraken, and then the basic attack manages to steal it away. But the Bright Bulwark prevented the Glaive from being able to get back onto the Kraken from the position he was in. It was just such a smart play and an incredible steal.
Yeah, and the crucial thing as well was denying that Kraken from Dynasty, because they could have really rolled along with that, and then this was one of the final fights of the game, and this was the first time where we saw Mowgli actually go down first, and then the sustain.
Yeah, Mowgli made a mistake. You can't. Grace is countered by Sky. You cannot over-engage like that. He used his Benediction to engage, and the team wasn't even engaging with him. The whole point of the Benediction is to engage with your team.
They also had no vision of Fnatic when he went in. They just saw the Glaive out there alone. They saw him walk out and then walk back into that Tri-Brush, and Mowgli went right onto him. Didn't have any flares in the inventory because of the 6th item being completed instead of keeping a slot open for flares. So they had no vision on the rest of Fnatic, and they immediately collapsed.
Yeah, and definitely late game, Fnatic played a little too passive. Like, they have Sky, 3-item, 4-item build, and they're not pushing that. Like, Sky wins this game late game, no matter what. She counters all 3 of their comps with how she can position so fast, etc. And Fnatic didn't push that power spike. They just played and waited until Dynasty made a mistake, and the mistake came, and Fnatic took advantage of it.
Which feels a little bit like Fnatic kind of resting on their laurels a little bit, going back to the old Fnatic that we know, where you kind of play very passive and try and punish a mistake. More recently, we've seen them be more proactive. Now, obviously, that was quite a long game, so we've got to get on into this second game now. What is, like, Do we think that this draft is going to change dramatically? Could we see another Sky, or is that just a B-side pick here for Fnatic?
We could see another Sky, but Fnatic is very quickly turning into one of those teams where we could see almost anything from them. Like, you don't really, it's so difficult to predict what exactly they're going to draft before you see their first pick and ban. You know, once that first pick and ban come out, then you can have a much better idea because they generally will stick to things that are meta or direct counter picks. But going into the draft beforehand, they don't really have as much of a heavy preference onto specific heroes anymore.
Yeah, for sure. I do want to just quickly, before we jump into the draft, mention an interesting statistic about Palmatoro. Now, in the first split of this season, his average KDA was 3.4. His KDA this week so far is 9.8. That is almost triple his average KDA for the first 4 weeks combined. Obviously, it's less games, but that just shows the ridiculous scorelines he has been putting up recently. Like, this guy has come on another level this week.
Yeah, for sure. And when he gets to his late game jungle builds, he just can't be killed, and he just basically outplays his opponent. And that's something that you got to watch. You got to shut down Palmatoro early so you don't let him get his huge power spikes into the late game.
Yeah, so now looking towards the draft of Dynasty, do we think that there's something that they need to change coming into this one? Because we mentioned towards the late game, this Sky pick kind of not automatically wins, but has a significant advantage. Was that something that Dynasty made a mistake, allowing that kind of thing through, or was it Fnatic punishing them?
Yeah, I think that them picking Scarf to deny it and not realizing Palmatoro can flex into the Sky, if they maybe played Samuel instead and let them pick Scarf, it may have turned out differently, because Grace is actually pretty decent into Scarf because of the Holy Nova and the Divine Intervention.
All right, well, we'll see if they're going to change things up now. On the B side, Fnatic going to be starting off on this A side, and we'll see what they're going to kick off with a ban. Lyra going to be taken off the board, so not going for the Arden Catherine start like we did last draft.
Yeah, not quite going to be the same first couple of bans, but Fnatic once again not banning away the Baron. We'll see where this draft is going to go. Dynasty could ban it away, but I would leave it open if I was Dynasty, because of the fact that Fnatic has played it so infrequently. It then creates it as a possibility for yourself.
Yep, the Grace just banned. So is Fnatic going to pick up this Baron? They have always banned Baron until the finals today, where they did not ban Baron. And Baron went through the draft completely last game. Like, no one picked him at all, which is very interesting.
Yeah, one of the very, very few times that has happened. Baron has gotten through the draft without being picked or banned less than 5% of the drafts that we've had in Vainglory8. And, well, not going to be putting the emphasis on it here for Fnatic either. They're going to go for the Black Feather again.
Yeah, which leaves Baron open for Dynasty. Baron is still good into Black Feather as long as you have like a Cruel or Koshka that can counter the melee dive that Black Feather wants to do. So Dynasty may opt for the Baron if PT Lamb plays it, or they may go for the Glaive here. They're going to pick up that Arden and then see what Fnatic is going to ban, and probably Fnatic's going to ban that Baron next.
Yeah, this Arden definitely feels like if all else fails, we're not sure what we want. Like, this is the ultimate, just sit back and let's see how the next part of the draft plays out first pick for Dynasty. And the next two bans definitely going to define how these remaining 4 picks will come across as well. Dynasty obviously with priority here, but you can already see that these teams are taking a lot longer to think about these picks in this draft than what we saw in the first draft of the day.
Yeah, Kath and Baptiste are still up, so Dynasty needs to probably ban Baptiste or Kath here. If they don't, and they don't take one of those, they're going to give over Baptiste, Kath to Fnatic. So that's something that they need to definitely ban. Has to be Kath or Baptiste here if they do not plan on taking Kath or Baptiste in their pick on the B side here. Yep, they're going to take that Kath. Now Fnatic will probably ban Baron or Vox, depending on what PT Lamb plays. So now PT Lamb will pick up the Vox because Baron is banned, and Vox is pretty good into Black Feather along with Arden. It's pretty good combo. They can last pick the counter jungle pick here. And then now Fnatic leaves open Lance along with Cruel. They played that before. That looks pretty good for Fnatic.
There is a possibility here that Dynasty once again lets the Baron go through. They're going to take the Idris.
Idris.
This is definitely a bit of a surprise because, I mean, obviously, again, PT Lamb plays a lot of Idris. That's not the surprising part. It's just that the fact that they're leaving the Baron open, they're picking the Idris without there being something that he hard counters on the other side.
Yeah.
Black Feather, can very easily just not really. It's not so much a hard counter either way.
They're pretty
with the
even.
Black Feather.
Yeah.
They're fairly even. Blackfeather could even go the CP route and just try and poke and harass against the Idris, which is really effective too. So Fnatic will have a lot of options. They're going to grab a Baptiste here.
Captain, I believe. Baptiste Captain and then Scarf. And now here, I think Dynasty should go Grumpjaw and do CP Idris if they do play that. That would be a lot of damage, especially with CP Idris scaling to the mid to late game. Do they play CP Idris though? If they do, that would be an amazing draft coming out from Dynasty if they pick up this Grumpjaw, because that would be a huge burst of damage. But instead, they're going with the Sky.
All right.
Which is interesting into Baptiste, because Baptiste can limit her movement.
Rikumeza basically saying to Palmatoro, you think that's how you play Sky? Let me show you a thing or two coming on into this game. This is going to be interesting with the Sky and Scarf swapping hands this time around. Definitely going to be a different game to what we saw in that first one. Potentially a quicker game. We'll have to see. What is going to be the playstyle for these two teams then? How do they have to make the win happen?
It's going to be almost very similar to the previous game, where it's all about just the range and the junglers. If they can match up against each other, who can get that initial damage first and who can make that damage stick. The Sky, I think, is going to be incredibly important to watch. And where is the build path going to go, and where's even the abilities going to go? We saw it was Palmatoro went for the Surrey Strike Max, which I'm personally a huge fan of the Surrey Strike Max on a CP Sky, but a lot of players will still go for the forward Barrage Max instead, just to have that 1 second lower cooldown on the Barrage and a little bit of extra damage on it, because that is her primary tool for damage dealing.
All right, Sweeja, just quickly your thoughts on this game?
I think I like Dynasty's draft, but Fnatic, if they land a good Scarf ultimate, they can win the game.
Okay, so all revolving around the Scarf. We'll see if that's going to be the case as we head on into the second game of this final. Hashtag Vainglory8 on Twitter to let us know who you're going to be supporting. Is it Fnatic going for a 2-0, or is it Dynasty coming for the 3-game series? Let's find out as we pass it once again to our wonderful casters.
Yeah, I'm not even going to lie, guys. When Munchbull said it, we're going to game 2, I was like, wait a second. This is not game 3? This is this is truly game 2 here. And Fnatic, I guess they have a chance to close out the series. But this game, it's going to be a little bit different, a little bit different flavor here. We got the Baptiste in here. Net Toilette can be playing this pick. Runs right into the 3 of Dynasty off the bat. And, hey, you're no Grace. Net Toilette will be able to use his boots to get himself out of here, a potion as well. This will give the mid, unless he steals that. I'd be done. I wouldn't be surprised if Net stole it. But Dynasty, they get the mid, they'll get the Elder Treant, and this is what they've been doing all weekend.
I really like doing it against this comp too. I feel like Baptiste Scarf doesn't fight very well into the 3 that you've got on Dynasty. And on top of that, punishing Scarf for not having the best fight at level 1 means that you also deal with his strength, which is, you know, quickly farming up early. So I think that's pretty smart. You're not going to be able to successfully stop that back, though. I think they should just take the front camp. Go for the backs here is very greedy.
Yeah, Net and Palma moving as to. We'll see what they go for first. They're going to start on the backs here. Palmatoro still level 1. He wants to get that goop. Rikumeza will be able to get his tree out there. It's really nice for him. And he just keeps the target lock on. He'll eat a bad mojo and just kind of chase Fnatic out of his jungle, I think.
This could be a bit dicey. Rikumeza is going to have another ability to go in again sometime soon.
You got the target lock, the forward barrage, the Surrey Strike over the top, Palmatoro. Hey, this is how you play Sky, bruh. That's the first blood, but they traded right back as Net Toilette's able to pick up a kill. It's kind of cheeky, but it's pretty easy once you're getting powered up. Throw a bad mojo early on there until these guys start to pick up some levels and some defense. It still has a little bit of an impact here.
Mowgli does need to be careful, though. If he sticks around too long, like he's basically just playing around cooldowns to threaten Net, but honestly, Net can probably survive if Mowgli commits. And he's very close to Palma. Alright, so we've had a few interesting things happen. Oh, Palma, he's got to be careful.
Mowgli steals it. Mowgli pulling a little Net Toilette. Net! Oh no, Net! One more basic, he's gonna go down. He overstepped. He's gonna pay for that with his life. Mowgli is gonna find that Palmatoro was teleporting out right there in that brush. Mowgli will take this opportunity to do the same himself.
We're seeing some weird stuff happen in the early games of many of our matches today, Humanist. Net sticking around the way that he stuck around is the questionable thing. Had he, maybe placed himself behind Palma by the Treant on the backside of the jungle, could have been a little bit better. But as it stands, 2 kills to 1. Still pretty even in terms of gold. Obviously getting both the back camps earlier was really nice for Fnatic.
Well, Net throws that Ordained onto PT Lamb. PT Lamb just stands his ground. He's not going to be stunned up, but makes it for an easy Spitfire target out of Palmatoro at this point. Fnatic has 3. They drop down. It looks like they were going to try to clear out Elder Treant or something like that. It's not there. Tetno was just going to take this opportunity to teleport home.
All right, so let's start talking about when we might see more action. Obviously, maybe right now with Dynasty moving into the jungle, but I think they probably won't commit to too much. They just wanted to see if they could steal something away. They should be able to get another Elder Treant if it spawns in time. Yep, they're going to be able to get that. Nicely timed by Dynasty. It's always good to make that slightly, you know, not overcommitting, but to make the aggressive play right before you know a Treant is going to spawn. Does mean you have position on the map and you're forcing your opponents to walk into a dangerous area that they don't have control over if they want to interrupt that. Both teams have all 3 members up the lane here, though.
Yeah, Rikumez has made his way up. Interesting forward barrage that he throws out there. Takes a whole bunch of damage. The on point, the Fan of Heart, he jumps in. Rikumez getting burned down. The forward barrage that I was saying was interesting. It's like he was trying to clear out the lane wave, not really even trying to put any poke damage out onto Fnatic. Fnatic connecting with Spitfire, a goop, and an on point. PT Lamb even feeling the threat here. He should hang around with Mowgli's Vanguard, having the Book of Eulogies. He should be able to hang out and sustain himself.
Yeah, even though Scarf and Blackfeather do a lot of work in the late game, I actually think that you do need to be very afraid of this particular comp in the mid game too. The stun out of Batiste makes it very easy for Tetno and Palma to stick onto people or land their skill shots, and as a result, they do a lot of damage. One of the weaknesses of someone like Scarf and Blackfeather is that they're often unable to leverage their abilities properly in the mid game because it's too risky to be in the right position to use them, or people are a little bit too mobile when your captain doesn't have access to their big team fight ultimate. But actually, Batiste does a great job of setting up these plays early. Also, nice interrupt on PT Lamb's back there. He's stuck on 1,500 gold right now. If they fight, Fnatic has an item lead.
That's the shocker mount. Ordained is down. Just a nice shroud step there. PT Lamb dodging out some damage. Kind of dancing around in that fight. That got very dangerous very quickly. Mowgli holding Fountain, Net Toilet as well. Both captains doing a very good job. Rikumeza kind of doing the forward barrage poke into that brush. Every Sky player knows. You may not have a flare, but I'll just throw a forward barrage and dip down there.
Yeah, it's pretty worth it. I mean, the cooldown isn't exactly that long. It's not exactly much energy. And actually, Rikumeza is going for the Surrey Strike max, so can get that cooldown back in a moment's notice if he wants to. Fnatic, I like that they're applying pressure. I think they should continue to do so, as I mentioned before. Let's see what items they go for first here, though. Tetno has a Poison Shiv. It looks like he's working towards a Serpent's Mask. Again, this is an interesting build. I'm not sure if I like it quite as much as going for like a Tension Bow or Sorrow Blade second. But it can be fine. It does give you a lot of sustain. Obviously, Serpent's Mask is a good item on Blackfeather.
I do like that both teams are going for a little bit different builds there. Hold that. Death from Boev cuts Net Toilet off from his team. The forward barrage not quite connecting. Net around the bottom side of that. Throws the Ordain down onto P. Lamb. He's going to try to get back up into the lane. Net, can he get himself out of there? Mowgli is just going to go ahead and punch him down there. Give him a little bit of that Flash X. Goodness. Oh my gosh, Flash. What a legend, honestly. We got to bring him up. Even casting Europe. Dynasty.
I was honestly expecting a turnaround fight there from Fnatic after Net Toilet dodged most of Rikumeza's forward barrage. I feel like they probably could have, especially with the positioning in the choke, setting up really nicely for a Dragon's Breath or perhaps just a goop. They didn't go for it. Fnatic playing cautiously like last game. It panned out last game.
I wonder if they thought maybe Net was just caught dead to rights in the beginning, because that's what it looked like.
It did look like it, but Batiste is not that bad at getting out of sticky situations. You have a lot of sustain, and also he had boots up, so he was able to maneuver quite effectively.
I'm really looking forward to when we get the ultimate on this Batiste. It's going to be a great disruptive tool, a disengaged tool, a tool just to split, just to split Dynasty apart. And they don't really have a whole bunch of that on their team. They have high damage output. Mowgli, the three-man gauntlet. Rose offensive out of that one, but Palmatoro left for dead. Net Toilet, nowhere to go. And Dynasty just pull the trigger, find 2 kills. And this is going to be Tetno against 3 here.
That gauntlet was just so dirty. Mowgli single-handedly won that fight for Dynasty. They're going to get a turret off the back. Tetno might die, too.
Techno, don't die. Don't do that. You don't want to die and lose your turret. We know that that's not the play. PT Lamb throwing out the shock rune there and making the plays happen. He's unlocked his divergent paths a little while ago, actually. So he does have the instantaneous kind of blink now, which is really good for him.
All right, so with the last couple of plays that we saw, Dynasty has set themselves up to a decent lead here. PT Lamb now has 2 tier 3 items. He's definitely becoming a little bit scary. Interestingly, he went for the Piercing Spear, and then back on the ship instead of finishing Tension Bow. It's quite curious. But ultimately, I think Fnatic are not in a devastatingly bad position. They just need to get Reflex Block / Crucible. Otherwise, Mowgli will be able to make that play again.
Yeah, I guess he should be able to. At the same time, though, it feels like well, I guess because Palmatoro got caught. Palma with the reflex, though, I feel like he's like the only one that needs to back out. Like if you engage, I would say just sick Techno right onto Ricky Meza or PT Lamb. Let Palmatoro just throw Spitfire scoops from behind the backside of that gauntlet, and Net Toilette should be able to handle himself up on the front line.
Depends on if Techno can actually find a good target to stick onto, because if Ricky Meza plays on the other side of the gauntlet wall, then Techno needs to do something about that. And without a reflex block, you're burning one of your key abilities to actually make that happen, which isn't always something you want to do.
PT Lamb in that goop, he just boom Shroud steps right out. That's really a great way for him to reposition, to maneuver through these fights. Maybe you get hit with an on point, you're a little slow, you're in that goop, whatever, boom, just Shroud step into a better position. Good job. Gauntlets down from Mowgli.
Okay.
I could say he's had better gauntlets in the past. It'll cancel off the gold miner attempt, but it didn't feel like that was like a full commit onto the gold miner anyway. Dynasty have chosen to stick around, try that. This is going to be sloppy. I can tell. I'm tier 7 in Europe, and I know that this is going to be a sloppy little flight here. Death from Above going to come down. That's your Fearsome Shade. Pushing back Ricky Meza. Dragon's Breath cancel off as well. Wait, what? Fiercely, he had a double Fearsome Shade. He had the Echo already? I didn't see that. I was like, wait a second. I thought I already said Fearsome Shade.
That feel when you Fearsome Shade twice in a fight and still don't accomplish anything. That's
but it
brutal,
felt good.
Actually. It felt good. It was like release, but it's not going to be enough unless your team's backing you up.
Cool story, Bob. Well, Jackson, this is kind of right back where we started.
But not quite. It's not quite back where we started. Dynasty did get a gold mine. And they burned an Echo cooldown, which is not insignificant. It's like 80 seconds. So, they have a window of opportunity here where they're actually going to get the gauntlet up and Echo won't be available. And because of the fact that he went Echo, there's no Crucible on that Toilette. So actually, I would say that as soon as Gauntlet's off cooldown, Dynasty should go for it.
I think it's really kind of interesting that both teams just pinged out all of their big cooldowns. You could tell both teams at a point where they're very clearly just letting all their allies know, hey, like, you may be ready to fight, I'm not. Wait for the cooldowns. Let's take a good fight. We really can't afford to be taking a bad fight at this point.
I know some people don't like seeing the pop-ups for the communication in game. I like it. I like to get that window into the minds of our players.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's always entertaining to see that. Oh, here we go.
There's your gauntlet. Net Toulette's going to be stunned up. It's the only person inside of that one. And, well, he throws out the Fearsome Shade at the end of it, but goes down, and that's pretty hard to watch. That was just an absolute smashing fight for Dynasty, and now they can do whatever they want. You don't have your captain for Fnatic. They don't have their fountain. It's 5 more seconds before he's going to respawn. It looks like Dynasty probably take this opportunity to just take out the Crystal Sentry.
Net Toilette needs to think about what purpose some of his movements are serving, because where he wasn't really accomplishing much. He wasn't able to get any vision down. He died and had most of it still in inventory. Fnatic in general needs to be playing in the back of their jungle. Focus on taking your back camps, maybe your front treant, but always go through by your sentry together, and focus on getting farm. If you flare out the tri-bush and you see no one's there, you can peek up, check gold mine, lay down a scout trap, back away. But being in that area between Mustache Bush and Tri-bush, there's nothing there. There's no reason to be there for Fnatic right now. They're too far behind to justify that kind of positioning.
I mean, okay, a lot of times in the past, you know, I've joked about, be like, all right, it's just little mind games. Net2Let just setting up the next big play. He's maybe one of the players that can kind of play a little bit sloppy just because that's his play style, and then completely turn it up and catch you by surprise the next fight.
It's increasing the amount of, you know, surprising success he needs to have later, though, right? Like,
it's true. But they'll be so surprised.
I mean, okay, let's be real, though. It's kind of like when you have a fourth squad on the enemy team. An echoed Fearsome Shade is one of those things that can just break a game. But I think he needs for his team to be in a good enough position to capitalize on it. Palma's pretty far off right now. 600 in the bank, 2 tier 3 items. Pretty far behind compared to Rickameza, who's, you know, over halfway to the next one.
I'd really like to see, like, honestly, if Fnatic catch vision of all of Dynasty, like middle area of the map, they're not right next to the turret, not right next to the Crystal Sentry, to just boot right at them, just lock someone down, double Fearsome Shade, let the Blackfeather just lock onto a target. I mean, at this point, it feels like they can control one of these fights.
Maybe.
Set the pace.
Yeah, potentially. I think that Dynasty needs to be aggressive, though. Like, they can easily find kills. This is very far up to...
They can, definitely, but Fnatic just can't let themselves get engaged on. Mowgli, the gauntlet over the wall, that was cute,
Ooh.
but yeah, it's not going to result in anything. Rickameza is going to get a nice little Surrey strike to get himself out of harm's way. Vanguard from his buddy, and kind of a reset there for Dynasty.
Deja vu on the no tier 1 shield for the Sky. Palma doing ridiculous damage already for no real reason. We'll see, though. Fnatic, maybe they can, off the back of Rickameza being forced back, get some purchase in the lane at least. Find some vision. Kraken's on the map. Any play that goes wrong goes very wrong now. Mowgli does not have Gauntlet. If they speed in, it could be bad. Oh,
I said it. And normally I say something, I'm like, yeah, that's stupid, and then I tell myself, okay, quit thinking that. But it just still feels like it. Like, just get onto a target. Just go. Like, if the Batiste just runs in with, like, Ordained, you have 2 Fearsome Shades, and Techno JJ just gets onto a target, there's, like, nothing that Rickameza or PT Lamb can do except for try to be elusive.
But they're very good at that, right? If they do it during the Gauntlet cooldown, maybe that's a window. But, oh, here we go.
So just to let yourself be engaged. Okay, now you're down sitting on both 2/3 health. Death from Above's going to zone out here. Palma, a little bit of Spitfire action coming out. Going to connect on the PT Lamb. Second Spitfire will miss Fnatic. Moving forward, there's your Ordained. All right, now's your chance. Fearsome Shade is going to be blocked off. Where's the second one? Net2Let. He needs to get some healing. Needs to get the second Fearsome Shade onto Mowgli. They're chasing back. This is Techno dropping low. This is Palma Toro. He can't find the damage. This is not what you were looking for, team. With the Crystal Sentry, it's good work. The Crystal Sentry is very good work. Techno will jump forward. What looked like a one fight for Dynasty completely flipped on its head there. On point. Will miss. Mowgli running around in circles there. What? Jackson, tell me what just happened.
Firstly, fighting on the Sentry is just a bad idea. You are not so far ahead as Dynasty that you can afford to do that. That was very throwy. Secondly, Palma has a lot of damage from his perk. And in that fight, he landed like 1 Spitfire midway through the fight. Missed like 2 in a row, but kept the fires burning from the basic attacks. And just did most of Rickameza's health, plus a Sentry swap target halfway through, because PT Lamb died, so it had a new focus, and I don't think Rickameza was expecting that damage. Oh man, Dynasty. That's not where you want to fight. That's just not where you want to fight. Just fight under the turret. You're so elusive. Like, if you have Idris tank turret, and you go in, and Sky follows, and there's a Gauntlet, Idris just resets turret aggro by using ult. You know, it basically is like playing with a Grace, right? Like, you just get to reset it. Fighting on Sentry is never going to be a good plan.
All right, well, Fnatic, they want to get the 2-0 in this series. Claim the finals. Week 1 of Split 2. I think maybe there's an opportunity for them to do so. Spitfire connects, On Point connects, Rickameza burning down, feeling the burn from this damage coming through. You know, Jackson said, man, he's got no shield, and I don't know if that's going to be his downfall here. Kraken slapping away on this choke point turret. It will go down. With that, Fnatic should probably back out of here. It looks like they'll go for Crystal Sentry, and I don't know. Palmator probably goes to heal back at this point. He's pretty low.
Yeah, I think Palma can safely go back and heal up, no question about it. He's got 1,000 gold in the bank. Probably might be worth just keeping an infusion in your inventory. I think it's pretty likely you're going to have to fight on that line. But honestly, with breaking the base in that way, Dynasty kind of is on a clock here. We've talked about it a number of times. We've seen this comp a lot. You know, the whole Blackfeather scarf thing. It seems like late game comps are doing some serious work this week. And they absolutely are in great position off the back of that, even though they're 3,000 gold behind. Doesn't really, I think, matter that much for Fnatic, just because they're scaling so much better. PT Lamb, maybe if he finds one more... Wow, he's full build, basically. Bonesaw 2. What's with the Bonesaws, Humanist? I got nothing.
Bonesaw's pretty good.
I don't think it's
okay, so he's gonna get a little attack speed out of it. He's getting some pierce. He's gonna burn through armor. It allows him, like, if he's actually staying on a target through these fights, to get through not only the little bit of armor they built, but also the natural armor that they have.
I am not certain that Breaking Point is worse. But
okay, replace it with one item. Which one's better?
Breaking Point.
Breaking Point. Is he getting enough sustained damage to, like, ramp up his breaking point?
Absolutely. He lasted a really long time.
War Treads! Jackson, hold that thought! Oh my god, we can't hold on the gauntlet! It's the gauntlet! We'll let the fearsome shade. He's got one, he's got two, he plays like he's Starboy, but we know it's Europe. That's not Starboy, it's just your net. Look at this. The burning, the Palma Toro, dropping the Spitfire, the Goobs, Mowgli, nowhere to go, nowhere to hide. Riku Meza, you have to play it like a god, the legend. Your team needs you, and he'll be chopped down. Techno, hey, coming through with the ace DN. 20 minutes? Are Fnatic gonna close this out in sub 21 minutes? What could we have here? A 2-0? Unbelievable. I do not believe my eyes.
Man, Gauntlet getting interrupted was brutal there. Mowgli got really screwed by that. On top, Idris, PT Lamb made some really weird plays in the middle of the fight. But overall, I mean, it was great play by Fnatic. They did everything right in that engagement. They split correctly at the right times. They target focused well. They're just going to steal this game away after a very tough mid and early game.
Well, that's I don't have much to say about that one. Like, Dynasty had control of that game for the majority of that game. And suddenly they just take a couple bad fights back to back and gets completely reversed on them. Any final thoughts there, Jackson?
You know, I just feel like you got to be careful about where you're in fights and what your comp can do. Fighting over the sentry is so much dicier than just pushing the lane, I think. And that was where things started to go wrong, I would say, for Dynasty. I'd like to see them make sure that they're playing to their win conditions.
Oh man, I'd love to see a 30-minute game, but 20 minutes is also pretty nice. But congratulations, Fnatic. It's a very solid victory for them right there. And with that, guys, we'll go ahead and throw it back over to our analyst desk to break that one down.
What a game coming out right there. It looked like it was going to be Dynasty's game. It looked like we were going to a third match, but Fnatic managing to swing things around in the end. I feel like this is a classic case of what we always talk about, these late game team comps that just kind of swing it in one way.
Yeah, Dynasty played so well. They should have won this game, but they lost it for themselves. They got 3 gold mines. They used level 6 Ardent Gauntlet, got the first turret with it. They focused on Net Toilet because he didn't get a reflex block. Used the Gauntlet again to kill him and get another gold mine. They did such a good job playing their comp so well. And then at 10 minutes, PT Lamb finishes 3 damage items. Bonesaw, Swordblade, and Poison Shiv. And they don't push with it. They don't take more objectives. They don't force fights. And they let Fnatic build up, and then they make one mistake that we're going to get into later here, and that turns around the game for Dynasty. But this is a key fight here because they knew Net Toilet has no reflex block. They make a play here, they kill him, they get gold mine, and even though Fnatic took 3 turrets, Dynasty was still up 3k gold lead. They had a 5k gold lead at the 10-minute mark. Dynasty just needed to snowball and not make a mistake, and they made a mistake.
They needed to force the issue at that point, and then there was a crucial team fight partway through the game where Fnatic managed to start to swing things in their own favor.
Yeah, this was the team fight that turned it all around. Beautiful, fearsome shade. The second one that came out, it just split the team up a bit, allowed them to now fight around this Crystal Sentry because they took a lot of damage, but ended up with Dynasty having to dive in so deep to try and find this team fight. and the Crystal Sentry putting in huge amounts of work, and a great job by TechnoJJ and Palmatoro to make sure that they don't stand in the way of the damage that's going to be coming out from the sky.
Yeah, two key things there. Mowgli had the Gauntlet. He should have waited. It was on a 12-second cooldown when he engaged. I don't know why he would engage when the Gauntlet's on cooldown. Second off, they're fighting in the Crystal Sentry, and they're not focusing the same target. If PT, Lamb, and Scarf focused Blackfeather, they probably would have won that fight, but they could keep split focusing in like game 1. They can't do that. You need to focus the same person, especially when you're ahead. And like I said, they made some big mistakes that let Fnatic then counter-engage and win the fight, get the ace, and end the game.
And then how about this play? This was the epitome of what Humanist was talking about. The Ordained coming out just in time to cancel the gauntlet. That would have been a beautiful gauntlet if it had connected.
As well.
Like, it was in the mid-animation. It was right. You could see where it was going to land. It would have been perfect gauntlet placement. But, you know, Humanist called it out. Nettolet sometimes plays very sloppily, but then always seems to come back by the end of the game and make a game-saving play, and that was it.
Yeah, and then kind of beyond that, it kept on running on through. TechnoJJ with a perfect game, 3 kills and 2 assists for himself without a single death there. But it definitely felt like Fnatic, once they managed to grab hold of the situation, once again, we go back to this conversation, Fnatic being this team that if you make a mistake, they are more than capable of punishing it and rolling that into a victory. Palmatoro, I think, across the course of the entire day, across the course of this entire weekend, has been an outstanding player, and I think very deserved of this MVP.
Absolutely. MVP of the entire week for Europe, like you just said. He just played absolutely incredible. You saw the stats earlier, what was it, an 8 or a 9 KDA ratio, bringing it up from where it was around the 3 mark through the first 4 weeks. Absolutely stellar performance from him, and not only did he beat the Scarf with a Sky, he then beat a Sky with a Scarf. It's very much a skill matchup, and Palmatoro came out on top of it in both games.
Yeah, for sure. And off the back of 2 Vainglory8 wins in a row now, surely we have to say that Fnatic are outright the best team in Europe.
Yeah, totally. They played extremely well, and like I said, they love baiting out and waiting for their opponents to make a mistake, and then they capitalize it, and then they turn the game around for themselves.
As much as I do think right now they are the best looking team in Europe, but we said the exact same thing, almost verbatim, after week 2 when Mousesports won 2 weeks in a row. So we need to be careful because Europe as a region is a region that can change drastically week to week.
Absolutely is. We'll see how that's going to pan out over the next couple of weeks. Only 2 weeks left remaining, but Fnatic are going to be your champions of week 1 split 2-0 against Dynasty. And in 3rd place, Calamity Reborn managed to take the series against Salty Potatoes 2-0. And that is going to bring us to the end of the European Vainglory8 for this week. And at the end, we can see Fnatic grabbing themselves 8 points, and neither SK nor Mouse grabbing any points this week. So Fnatic have skyrocketed ahead of the competition now.
Yeah, but how about Dynasty? You know, we had a 3-way tie before for first place. Now we have a 3-way tie for 2nd place as Dynasty moves up to join that 19-point club.
All right, so final thoughts then before we end the broadcast for Europe. How are we feeling about going into week 6? Because this, like, when you look at Europe right now versus Europe 2 weeks ago, it's a totally different picture.
The drafts are coming out so solid from all these teams, and it comes down to little mistakes. So whoever makes least mistakes and whoever plays their win condition better. Like, Dynasty didn't lose a fight when they had Gauntlet. They lost it when they didn't have. So that's the key to Europe for this week for sure.
All right, Bacon.
For me, it's just who's going to step up next week. It seems like every single week it's somebody stepping up in a big way, whether it's an entire team or an individual player. We haven't seen any team be able to win more than 2 weeks in Europe. Will that trend continue, or will Fnatic start to assert some dominance?
All right, well, that is going to be the end of our European stream, but do not go anywhere. In about 45 minutes, we're going to be coming back with the North American Vainglory8. We've had some upsets. We've had challenger scenes making a splash, and we're going to be heading on